This is the new frontier, completed, made by husbands and fathers willing to spend their time, their energy, their substance for their families, but seldom there to enjoy the fruits of their labor. Suburbia is a woman's world. Reading their newspapers on the commuter trains, the men may make the big decisions, like what should be done about the hydrogen bomb. But over coffee on the patio, the women make the so-called little decisions. How to raise the children, run the house, the school, the town, the church, and their husbands.
Motherhood. While it may not explicitly look like American propaganda films from the 1950s, standards and traditions have still manifested in several ways internationally. Dogtooth, Miss Violence, and Xenia acknowledge this. They're all particularly traumatic films that take on critiquing the Greek familial structure. However, these films leave the mothers on the outskirts of the stories, centering primarily on the patriarch's perspective. Still, it is crucial to note their contribution to the story, for they act as both oppressors and as victims. Of these movies, there are 4 archetypes that stick out. There's the absentee alcoholic who's trying to have it all from Xenia, the hysterical devotee from Dogtooth, the mother who rebels from Miss Violence, and the adolescent newcomer, also from Miss Violence. In her analysis of motherhood in horror films, Sarah Arnold notes, "I use the term good mother to refer to a particular and popular discourse of motherhood that valorizes self-sacrifice, selflessness, and nurturance." The mothers in these films seemingly all show this in different ways, whether it be the mother from Dogtooth, who's constructing her whole life around sheltering her children, or the older mother in Miss Violence, who literally kills the patriarchy for the sake of the younger women in the movie, or the youngest mother, who fawns over her children constantly. In addition to never seeing her engage in these behaviors, the mother from Xenia is deemed the bad mother, according to nuclear family standards. Not only is she an immigrant and disruptive, therefore, to the ethnically closed national family, but she's also the only one of these women to have a career and not have a husband. Therefore, within the realm of these stories, she's demonized for doing something other than being a housewife or a mother. Sarah Arnold continues, saying discourses of good motherhood act as a template for the practice of good motherhood, essentially saying that society wants to reproduce the behaviors that it idolizes. However, these characters deconstruct how the perfect mother has never really been that perfect, but used as a patriarchal agent. While they do help carry out the patriarchal agenda, their dual naturehood of victim and oppressor is explored through these films. The biggest accomplice out of all the mothers is the one from Dogtooth. She has some control in making decisions about how to manipulate the children, but definitely not having all the power. She constantly needs her husband's approval. She goes along with his antics even if it degrades her in the process. She's also very obviously lonely, constantly making phone calls to him, or getting very upset if he's even the slightest bit upset at her. The mothers from Miss Violence are even less compliant. In fact, they're apprehensive. The older one seems much more burnt out, never leaving or really doing much throughout the story besides watching TV. Even her most active action of killing the patriarch is not shown in the film. It is hard for her to fathom having agency of any kind since she has been controlled for so long. Her eldest daughter, Eleni, demonstrates this torn world between childhood and adulthood. She represents the contradictory nature of the quick change from moving from a pious and innocent child to a sexually active wife. She becomes the ultimate object of reproduction in her family unit, yet she can barely carry herself. Essentially, her character is used to call into cognition how quickly women are sexualized in the nuclear family structure. Miss Violence very literally adapts this quote from Betty Friedan. Women who had once wanted careers were now making careers out of having babies, taken from the feminine mystique. Another concept by Friedan, called the problem without a name, comes to life in these movies as well, as it seems to be bubbling at the surface of these women's lives. This is seen with their dissatisfaction with their current living situation, and it manifests into violent, hysteric, and even psychotic behaviors. Their dissatisfaction originated in the disappointing and contradictory results from what the nuclear family lifestyle had promised. These women act as both villains and victims, purposefully demonstrating the conflicting and nuanced role of the mother. In the end, being the good mother doesn't always pay off.